Get a calculator, people. You're going to need a calculator. Pencil or a pen. Calculator. Let me say it again. Get a calculator. You're going to need it. We're on 8.3's notes. Let's go. All right, what is meant when a shape is a regular polygon? Regular tells you two things about the shape. Two things about the polygon. Number one, all sides are equal. And number two, all angles are equal. Okay, that's what a regular polygon means. It means all the sides are going to be the same. They're going to be equal to each other. All the angles will be the same degrees, the same measurement. They're all going to be equal to each other. This is not the only kind of regular polygon, but this one kind of brings it home for you. Think square. A square is a regular polygon. Okay? That's probably the most obvious example of a regular polygon. All right. And what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be finding the area and going over how to find the area of regular polygons. And you can see from our notes, we have two examples, one on each page. And the reason why we only have one on each page is because these take a little bit of time to do. Okay. And we're going to work through them right now. Okay. So here's the first thing that you do when you're finding the area of a regular polygon. For this first example, the first thing has almost already been done for you. What you do is you put a point in the center, that has been done for you, and then you draw in all the radii for the shape. Okay, and remember, the radii goes from the center to each corner. So you're going to draw all these radii in. And when you do that, you are going to create multiple congruent triangles. And in this case, this shape is going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 congruent triangles. The number of triangles that you create will be the same as the number of sides of the shape. That's step one. Point in the center, draw all the radii. Okay? That's number one. Then the second thing that we are going to do is we are going to find the measure of each central angle. Okay? So we are going to find each central angle's measurement. Now, how do we do that? The central angles are all of these angles in the center of your shape. And if you put all of the central angles together, notice, put all of them together, they make a circle. So a circle is 360 degrees. And to find the measurement of each individual central angle, we're going to divide by how many central angles there are, which in this case is 8, and that gives me 45 degrees. So each one of these central angles are 45 degrees. I'm not going to mark all of them as 45 degrees. I'm just going to mark 3 of them as 45 degrees. Okay, but that's the second thing that we're going to do. Find the measure of the central angles. Okay. The third thing that we're going to do is we are going to take the central angle and we're going to divide it by 2. So you're going to take whatever the central angle is, and then you're going to divide it by 2. Okay, 45 degrees is my central angle. I'm going to divide that by 2, and that is equal to 22.5 degrees. Here's why you're going to do that. That's going to lead you into the fourth thing that you're going to do. The fourth thing that you're going to do is you are going to draw a height in the bottom triangle. The bottom triangle. So you're going to go down to the triangle that's at the very bottom of your shape, which is the triangle that I am highlighting in yellow. And you're going to draw a height in that triangle. So how do you draw a height? You go from the highest point, which is the center of your polygon, and then you draw a line going straight down. And when it touches the bottom or the base, you create a right angle there. Okay? And what happens is that this 22.5 degree angle goes right inside that the inside of that little triangle that you just drew. It's going to be really hard to see here, but that angle up there is 22.5 degrees. And we have created a right triangle. So that 22.5 degrees, this is 22.5 degrees. It goes at the top of the right triangle that you created. Step number 5. Okay, step number 5. You're going to draw the interior right triangle. All right, draw the interior right triangle. Now, what right triangle am I talking about? I'm talking about if you go down to the bottom of your shape, that right triangle that looks like this, where you drew in the height, you have the 90 degrees, and it goes up like that. You're drawing that triangle, which is this triangle that I'm kind of coloring in orange down here, okay? Now, in that triangle, that angle up at the top is 22.5 degrees, okay? And if you notice, the radius is 20, so that means that this part of that interior right triangle is 20 degrees. Okay, so you're going to draw the interior right triangle. That's going to be 5A. 5B is going to be label the base as X. So the base of this right triangle you're going to label as X, and the height as Y. Okay, and the height as Y. So in that right triangle, that interior right triangle, you're going to label the base and the height. Base is X, height is Y. We're going to have to find both of those. And that's going to be step C of number 5. Okay, step C is going to be use trig. Remember, that's SOHCAHTOA. So we're going to use SOHCAHTOA, and we're going to use it to find X and Y. Okay? Use trig to find X and Y. All right? So this is going to be, you're going to have to remember how to use trigonometry. SOHCAHTOA, sine, cosine, tangent. Let's find X first. All right? So my theta angle is 22.5 degrees. X is the opposite side. 20 is the hypotenuse. So I'm going to use sine to find X. And the equation that I'm going to use is sine of my theta, which is 22.5, is equal to the fraction opposite side x over hypotenuse 20. So that's my equation that I'm going to use to solve for x. And now I'm going to solve for x. So remember, when you're using sine, cosine, or tangent, when x is in the numerator of the fraction, to get your answer, that tells me that x is going to be the denominator number 20 multiplied with sine 22.5. So you're going to multiply the 20 with sine 22.5. And this is where you need a calculator in order to multiply this out. Okay, use your calculator. 20 times sine 22.5. You get a decimal, and we're going to round it to the first decimal place, and we get x is equal to 7.7. Okay, now we're going to use trig to find SOHCAHTOA, that's trigonometry. We're going to use it to find y. Okay, so 22.5 is still my theta angle. Move this like this over here. 22.5 is still my theta angle. Y is now the adjacent side, and 20 is the hypotenuse. So that means I'm using cosine to find y. So my equation is cosine 22.5, that's theta, is equal to the fraction adjacent side, which is y, over hypotenuse, which is 20. And now, once again, when you use SOHCAHTOA, trigonometry, if the variable y is in the numerator, to get your answer, you multiply the two values together. So y is going to be equal to 20 multiplied with cosine 22.5. And this is why I kept saying you need a calculator. Type it in. 20 times cosine 22.5. You get a decimal. We're rounding it to the first decimal spot, the 10th. We get 18.5 for y. That is all step 5 right there. Now I move on to step 6. Step 5 is the most lengthy step of all your steps, by the way. So if you're kind of freaking out going, holy mackerel, Mr. Trutna, is this going to, what the heck? Step 6. Now we're going to find the area of the bottom triangle. All right. Area of the bottom triangle. So, how do you find area of a triangle? Remember, the formula is you take the base, which is the bottom of the triangle. You multiply it with the height, and the height is the highest point of the triangle down to the bottom of the triangle, and then you divide by 2. In the bottom triangle, and the bottom triangle is that triangle that I have highlighted in my picture. The bottom of the triangle is double x. It's x and x. So if x is 7.7, if you notice, x is 7.7, then the bottom of that triangle is 7.7 plus 7.7. And 7.7 plus 7.7 is 15.4. So that's the base of your bottom triangle. The height of the bottom triangle is y that you got in step number 5, which we got was 18.5. So the height is 18.5. Okay, so you're going to take the base, 15.4, multiply with the height, 18.5, and then you're going to divide that with 2. Okay? Use your calculator. 15.4 times 18.5, press equals, and then divide by 2. We're going to round our decimal to the first decimal spot. That's the 10th, 142.5. So my area of my bottom triangle is 142.5. Okay, and that takes us to our final step. There's 7 steps in this. Step number 7 is we are now going to find the area of the octagon. Okay, and this last step, honestly, should be one of the easiest steps to do. But the bummer is that if you mess up on any other step before, your last step it's kind of like you're just, you're drowning here. Okay, so how do I find it? Well, notice in my picture, let's go to my picture. I know my area of that bottom triangle is 142.5. And then I'm going to multiply that by how many triangles are just like the triangle at the bottom, including that. And there are 8 triangles that we have. So I'm going to go 142.5 times 8. And that is my answer. So type in 142.5 times 8, 1,140. There is my final answer for my area of my regular octagon in this case right here. Okay? Okay, so let's review what the steps are. What are the 7 steps? Step number 1. Point in the center and draw all the radii. Step number 2. Find the central angles measure. Step number 3. Central angle divided by 2. These are the 7 steps. Step number 4. Draw a height in the bottom triangle. Step number 5. Draw the interior right triangle label the base as X and the height as Y, and use trig to find X and Y. Step number 6. Find the area of the bottom triangle. Step number 7. Multiply the area of the bottom triangle with the number of congruent triangles. There it is. There's the 7 steps on how to find area of any regular polygon. Okay, turn your paper over, people. We're going to go over these 7 steps right here. There they are again. I know that I was typing faster than probably you could write. So there they are with the 7 steps again. Okay? All right. Here, notice we have a hexagon now. And in this hexagon, I've got the side labeled as 12. So this one's a little bit different than the previous one. So step number 1, we put a point in the center of the shape. There we go. There's my point. And then you draw all the radii in. The radii go from the center to each corner. You're going to create all of these triangles right here. And remember, like I said, every triangle that you create, they're all congruent to each other. They're all the same. And there's going to be 6 of them because there's 6 sides of the shape. That's step number 1. Okay, step number 2, we're going to find the measurement of every one of these, of the central angles here. All right, so how do we do step number 2, which is find the measure of the central angles? I'm going to put number 2 right here. Remember, we take 360 degrees. All the central angles make 360 degrees. And then we're going to divide it by 6. And the reason why we're dividing by 6 is because there's 6 central angles. That is equal to 60 degrees. So each one of these central angles is 60 degrees. You do not have to write it 60 degrees in all the angles. You just have to know that they're 60 degrees. Step number 3, we're going to take the central angle, which is 60 degrees. We divide it by 2. That is equal to 30 degrees. Okay? Step number 4, now we're going to draw the height in the bottom triangle. So we go down to this bottom triangle here, and which I'm highlighting, and we're going to draw the height of that bottom triangle. So you go to the highest point, and then you go straight down, so that it makes a 90-degree angle. Now, that little angle inside the right triangle, that's where that 30 goes. So that little angle right there is 30 degrees. Okay, that's step number 4. You draw the height in the bottom triangle. Step number 5 is you're going to draw that interior right triangle that we just created. So you're going to take that interior right triangle right here, and you're going to draw it. The 30 degrees is up at the top. And this is where you got to think a little bit. The bottom of my bottom triangle is 12, which means I have 6 and 6, which means the bottom of my interior right triangle is 6. Okay? That's the first part. We're going to label the bases X. We don't have to label the bases X. X is going to be right there, but it's already 6. So we already know what X is. Awesome. Okay, we're going to label the height as Y. All right, and then we're going to use trig to find X. We don't have to find X. We know X is 6 because it was half of 12, but we do have to use trig to find Y. So which trigonometry are we going to use? Sine, cosine, or tangent? Well, theta is 30 degrees. The Y is the adjacent side. The 6 is the opposite side. So I'm going to use tangent, opposite, and adjacent. So my equation is tangent theta, theta is 30 degrees, is equal to opposite side, which is 6, over adjacent side, which is Y. Now, when Y is in the denominator of the fraction of the equation that you write, to get your answer for Y, you divide the two numbers. So to get your answer, you're going to go 6 divided by tan 30. And when you divide, you always divide by the tan or the sine or the cosine part. Okay? Use your calculator. Divide it out. 6 divided by tan 30. Type it in. 6 divided by tan 30. Round your decimal to the first decimal spot. You get Y is equal to 10.4. Okay? So my height is 10.4. My base of my right triangle is 6. Okay? And we're done with step 5. Awesome. Step 6. And when you're doing these problems, can you label the steps, please? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, you're never going to label. 4 is just going to be inside the shape there. But 6, we're going to find the area of the bottom triangle. Okay, so remember, so here's what my bottom triangle looks like. I'll draw it over here, and I'll draw it in its highlighted format. Okay, so we've got that triangle there. We know that the bottom, the base of it is 12. We know the height of it is that right there, and we just found that out. That's Y, that's 10.4. All right, so that means to find the area, I'm going to take the base, which is 12. I'm going to multiply it with the height, which is 10.4. and then I divide by 2. Remember, to find the area of a triangle, base times height divided by 2. Multiply it out there, people. 12 times 10.4, press equals, divided by 2. 62.4. So my area of my bottom triangle is 62.4, and that leads me to step 7. And step 7 is I'm going to multiply the area of the bottom triangle. I'm going to find the area of the hexagon. Okay, this is my last step. This is going to be my final answer. I'm going to multiply the area of my bottom triangle, 62.4, with the number of congruent triangles. There are 6 congruent triangles. So I'm going to go 62.4 times 6. That's your answer. 374.4. Okay? So my area of my hexagon is 374.4. Seems a little bit daunting and challenging here, but people, just keep these 7 steps. Read them off and do them step by step. Seems daunting, seems challenging, like I just said, but follow the 7 steps. Let's end it with a silly song. Get after worksheet 8.3. Peace.